Marcus Chin had forgotten what genuine laughter sounded like. Not the polished chuckles in boardrooms or the calculated networking giggles at charity. Gallus, real laughter, the kind that erupted from somewhere deep and honest. At 38, he'd built an empire, amassed a fortune that could sustain generations, and lost count of the dinner parties, where people smiled at his jokes before they were even funny. His assistant had scheduled this blind date like any other appointment, 7 p.m., Giuseppe's table 12, exit strategy prepared at 7:05 p.m. He'd agreed only to appease his grandmother, who'd been worrying about his lonely penthouse and lonelier heart since his father's funeral 6 months ago. As he straightened his tie in the rearview mirror, Marcus promised himself this would be the last time he'd let anyone set him up. The restaurant glowed with amber light as he stepped inside, his practice smile already in place. Table 12. There she was, and his carefully rehearsed excuses caught in his throat. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, in an unassuming way that had nothing to do with the designer dresses and strategic makeup he was used to. No, it was something else entirely. She was laughing at something on her phone, head thrown back, shoulders shaking, completely unself-conscious. And when she noticed him approaching, she didn't straighten up or compose herself. She just smiled, still catching her breath, and said, "I'm so sorry. My nephew just sent me a video of his attempt to teach his cat to play piano. It's complete chaos. I'm Emma, by the way." "You must be Marcus?" He sat down, and before he could launch into his 5-minute escape plan, she pushed her phone across the table. "You have to see this." "I promise it's worth it." And there it was, a chubby toddler, seriously pressing piano keys while an orange tabby batted at his hands, and Emma's voiceover saying, "Maestro Murphy is not impressed with his accompanist." It was ridiculous. It was completely unpretentious. And despite himself, Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. That's actually pretty funny," he admitted. Emma grinned. "Right? My sister says I'm the world's easiest audience. But I think life's too short not to laugh at cats and toddlers." The waitress came by, and Emma ordered without looking at the prices, not in the careless way of someone who had money, but in the unaware way of someone who wasn't thinking about money at all. She ordered the special, asked the waitress how her day was going, and actually listened to the answer. Marcus found himself doing the same, his phone forgotten in his pocket, his exit strategy dissolving with each passing minute. "So," Emma said, folding her hands under her chin, "I should probably tell you up front. I'm terrible at these things. Blind dates, I mean. My best friend set this up because apparently I'm married to my job and need to remember that humans require companionship." Her words, not mine. "What do you do?" Marcus asked, genuinely curious now. "I'm a social worker," she said, and something in her voice shifted, became more solid. "I work with foster kids, mostly teenagers. The ones everyone says are too old or too difficult. I run a program that helps them transition to independence." She shrugged, but her eyes shone. "It's not glamorous and the pay is, well, let's just say I won't be ordering champagne tonight. But it matters, you know. These kids just need someone to believe in them." Marcus felt something uncomfortable twist in his chest. When was the last time he'd talked about his work with that kind of passion? When had board meetings and profit margins replaced the excitement he'd once felt about building something meaningful? "That sounds incredible," he said, and meant it. "It must be challenging." Emma's laugh this time was softer, tinged with something else. "Challenging is one word for it. Yesterday, one of my kids, Tyler, he's 17, ran away from his group home. 3rd time this month. Everyone said to let the police handle it, that he needed to face consequences. But," she paused, fingers tracing the condensation on her water glass, "I spent 5 hours driving around, checking all his usual spots. Found him at the public library hiding in the reference section. You know what he told me?" Marcus shook his head, completely absorbed. He said, "I just wanted somewhere quiet where nobody's mad at me. This kid who everyone says is aggressive and defiant, he just wanted peace." Emma's eyes glistened. "So I sat with him in that library until it closed, and we didn't talk about rules or consequences. We just talked about books and music and what he wants to be. He wants to be a writer, Marcus, and he's good, really good, but nobody's ever asked him about it, because they're too busy managing his behavior." "Did he go back to the group home?" Marcus asked quietly. Eventually. But I promised him I'd help him. Apply to this creative writing program at the community college. It's a long shot, but, she smiled again. That luminous, unself-conscious smile. I believe in long shots. The food arrived and they ate. And Marcus kept thinking he should check his watch, should signal his driver, should activate his escape plan. But Emma told stories about her kids. Marcus found himself sharing things he hadn't told anyone. About his father, who'd built the company from nothing. About the pressure of living up to a legacy. About the strange loneliness of success. It's weird, he admitted, surprised at his own candor. I have everything I thought I wanted. But somewhere along the way, I forgot why I wanted it. Emma didn't offer platitudes or easy solutions. She just nodded. My dad used to say that success without purpose is just expensive emptiness, and she tilted her head. What did you love about business before it became about the bottom line? The question hit him harder than it should have. I liked solving problems, creating opportunities. My first company was actually a microloan platform for small businesses in underserved communities. I thought I could change things. He laughed bitterly. Then I sold it to a conglomerate and spent the next 15 years maximizing shareholder value. So do it again, Emma said simply. Do what? Solve problems. Create opportunities. You clearly have the resources and the knowledge. What's stopping you? What indeed? Marcus opened his mouth to list the reasons. Board expectations, fiduciary responsibilities, market pressures. But they all sounded hollow in the face of her directness. I suppose nothing is stopping me, he said slowly. Except myself. Emma raised her water glass. Then here's to stopping ourselves. They clinked glasses, and she laughed again at the tongue twister, and Marcus realized it was 9:47 p.m. He'd stayed 2 hours and 42 minutes past his exit time, and he hadn't thought about leaving once. The evening wound down, and as they stood outside the restaurant, Emma shivered slightly in the October air. Without thinking, Marcus shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. I had a really nice time tonight, she said, looking genuinely surprised. Me too, Marcus admitted. Actually, I have a confession. I was planning to leave after 5 minutes. Emma laughed. That real, unguarded laugh. I know, I could tell. You had that politely trapped look. She grinned. I was planning to make it easy for you. But then you actually laughed at Murphy and Mr. Buttons. And I thought, maybe this one's different. Can I see you again? The words came out before Marcus could second-guess them. I'd like that, Emma said. Then more seriously, but fair warning, my life is complicated. I get calls at 3 a.m. I miss dinners because a kid's in crisis. I don't have time for games or status or impressing people. Good, Marcus said, because I'm tired of games and status and being impressed. I just want... He paused, surprising himself with the truth. I just want to feel like what I do matters again. 3 months later, Marcus stood in front of his board of directors with a proposal that made his CFO's eye twitch. He wanted to establish a foundation, not the tax write-off kind, but something real. Microloans for small businesses, scholarships for foster youth, transitional housing with support services. Emma had helped him draft it. Her experience and his resources creating something neither could have built alone. You're talking about diverting significant capital, the CFO said carefully. Yes, Marcus agreed. I am. For what return? A board member asked. Marcus thought of Tyler, who'd gotten into that creative writing program and was thriving. Of Emma's face when she talked about her kids. Of his father, who'd always said that money was just paper until you used it to change lives. The return, Marcus said clearly, is remembering why we do this in the first place. The board approved. It barely, but they approved it. And that night, when Marcus called Emma to tell her, her delighted laughter rang through the phone, and he knew with absolute certainty that this was what success was supposed to feel like. A year after that first blind date, Marcus proposed in the library where Emma had found Tyler, now. Published in the community college's literary magazine. He'd arranged for all her kids to be there, holding signs that spelled out, "Will you marry me?" Emma cried and laughed simultaneously, which Marcus had learned was her specialty. Yes, she said. Obviously, yes. as they embraced, surrounded by cheering. Teenagers and supportive librarians and the musty smell of old books. Marcus reflected on the 5-minute exit plan he'd never executed. He'd thought he knew what he was looking for. Polish. Sophistication, someone who fit his world. Instead, he'd found someone who'd reminded him how to build a world worth fitting into. Emma's laughter still rang through their home, their foundation offices, their life together. It wasn't the sound of perfection or achievement. It was the sound of joy, genuine, hard-won, and absolutely real. And it had saved him in ways he was still discovering, one honest moment at a time.